we are on the proposal is about where we were Friday afternoon on the proposal. I haven't had a whole lot of time to work on it now, but I have the team last week when we met on Tuesday identified areas that they felt were necessary for us to get started. So it was having a designated phone line, so going through and saying, could it be 311, could it be 211, how will this work, what would be the cost of it? So some of it has just been information gathering cost and timeline. Having some navigators in the community, figuring out what that may cost and who's prepared to do it and at what percentages, so that there would be point people in each zone. So not new people, but how can we support some of the resources that can be designated point people to keep track of things. What does evaluation look like? How do we measure impact? Some of those things that we talked about in that group. And as we look out, what are the things that are needed right now to put us in a position to get us started? So I think I have a pretty good base to start on the writing, working through the budget. I talked to several people around the fiscal need, the reporting needs since Friday. I just left public housing. Another piece of it is how do we get the resources out when they come, because I'm getting lots of information and details as it comes. So what would be needed immediately? Is it a website? Is someone hosting it? How do we build it out? That kind of stuff is where I am now. And I think that by the end of today or early tomorrow, I'll have a good base and I'm putting the narrative together now.
It's a one page, right?
There's one page of questions.
Yeah.
It's not one page of response.
Oh.
Right.
Oh.
But I mean, some of it is knowing and making sure that we're positioning ourselves and asking for the right things to get us started. So I think some of the things that were on the list aren't necessary. So I'll have an answer response for the group tomorrow.
Wait, so we don't meet tomorrow, so we need to talk about how we want to handle this because, we need to have everything out front before it goes in. What time is the deadline on Wednesday? 4:30. Okay, so how do you want to handle it, Chandra? Come in on Wednesday and with the numbers and everything and get somebody down there?
That's fine.
I
mean, there's not going to be a lot of room for edits. I can send it out before that, and if there's anything that's quick, I mean, I can bring my laptop and I can make.
I don't think we're interested in editing what we do. We just want to be informed. So when someone asks, how much was the ask? What were the major areas?
Oh yeah, I can have that on Wednesday.
Okay, is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
All right. Go ahead. Alan in the past.
And you said you don't meet tomorrow, but the human needs committee meets tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And just a look, Attorney Sanders, are you going to divide the groups up? The mental health, the other people, to see exactly what they're thinking before you do that proposal?
No.
You just gonna do it in both?
So there's things that we need as a group that will help with the infrastructure. So that's how I'm looking at that. The survey went out today, and you may, Karen, how I understand the deadline is that there'll be more opportunity to come back if we need things. Later, or there'll be other RFPs that will come out, or deadlines, or additional resources that we can access. So initially, what we're going in is what do we need to get started as a group? So do we need, we need to get the data into the database. We need to get, so it's really those kind of things. And then how do we structure ourselves? And then I think in the conversations around how do we deliver those services, I think that's a different discussion than how do we build the infrastructure. So it's not like a no, like a flat out no. It's just a no, not before tomorrow or before the RFP goes out. Because right now I'm not even sure who's all at the table. So the survey will help us sort that out, and then we can say, okay, here's how this flows.
I get you now.
Okay.
The infrastructure and then your committee, the committee that's supposed to report to you, you're going to deal with that after this first round.
Yeah.
And could I just clarify, Louis, the first deadline Wednesday at 4:30 is in response to the RFP that was submitted all this is on our website, minnesotahelps.org. And we will make a round of grants, which we'll announce on June 22nd. And we have said that we will also be reviewing grants on a weekly basis. So there is an opportunity to come back after the 15th deadline. And of course, all of this is dependent on the resources that we need to fund over time. So that's the process.
Thank you. Hang on, we gotta move on. One person and next person. Yes, sir.
Just to maintain our ethical position that as a group, as a team, our interest is in, submitting a collaborative proposal. It would be helpful for us to identify the parameters of course, this one's Wednesday, it's going to be real quick. After that, as we move forward and look at subsequent rounds, this group can frame out the parameters of what those asks are going to be, so that others that may say, well, I have something I want to propose that's really not within those parameters, that feel released and okay to do that, so that people are not feeling, hamstrung. But we want to maintain an ethical position about being collaborative, but at the same time, with information as to specifically what we're going to be asking us to move forward.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Well, I want to wrap up with Chandra. I don't want to get off on funding.
Okay, along the lines of that, no, but talking about the collaborative, along the lines of that, I thought that the collaborative would, if you're in this collaborative, I thought everybody was going to be together in applying for something.
Okay.
So I'm just asking about the collaborative. If people, you're saying people go outside the collaborative and do their own thing, is it other organizations doing that? Are other organizations doing that? Because on transparency and accountability, we want to know which agency is doing, which one is doing that, so just be respectful.
All right, let's hold that right now. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I just think that it's important to know that there's this ongoing deadline and there's other resources that are available. So this first ask is really, what do we need right now to get it started? So I get kind of the progression of need, and I do think that it's going to be something that has to be discussed. To Reverend Coleman's point about how do we get everybody's needs kind of from an organizational perspective, but we also have to assess what are the people in the community needing and what is the most urgent need, and then move that way too. So I think that there has to be some discussion about how the asks get played out, what is the timeline, what's the most critical need as we move forward, and then timeline. So one of the pieces even for this was if we're going to support, communications and advocates, like is it on 120 days, is it for 6 months, what is the timeline that we're looking at for this initial request? So I think there's a lot of those pieces that have to get played out. So I hear you.
Okay, let's take a step back. And this will probably get at what you're saying. We probably 2 weeks ago made a commitment to take the space that was occupied by the Red Cross once they went back to normality. Did we not? Is that right?
That's right. That's right.
No people in the room that remember that?
Yeah.
That they said they were here, they went there, they go back down, right? We were the group that they came to and had that discussion with. Is that right?
Right.
We identified 3 areas. Is that right? We identified 3 areas that we would transition from the Red Cross and push forward, correct? We ran an assessment with them, we got the facts. That is the basis for this first action. However, we noted that we did not have sufficient infrastructure to pull it off. And so this wasn't necessarily about band-aids and water and food and clothing and housing. This was about backbone so that we could have a predictable way of getting things done. Check?
Check.
Check? Okay, so that is an absolute discrete position. Nobody else can claim to have done that, all right? So whatever else they're doing is not that. And we agreed as a group that that was the most critical thing, did we not? Okay, especially for the vulnerable people, the renters that were identified when you came into the room, all right? And we were told by the county last week that they don't quite know what 5,000 of these people are, check? Okay, so to build a machine first, then to move to the operational side, which is what this analysis is about, and what the survey is about, which says what our capacity is, what space we plan to fill. That will then go to the succeeding request as we try to move this thing forward. We're all in the same place? All right, that's the logic behind the ask. And why right now we're not concerned about what other groups are doing. We're gathering the information internally. We will develop protocols and priorities for positioning our ask as we try to meet the needs of the people that we're here to serve. Is that right? Okay, just want to make sure.
I heard you mention navigation, and I'm not sure exactly what definition or intent of that specifically is, but I could just say.
Speak up.
I heard the term navigator mentioned in respect to, I believe, this submission, and so I just want to make you aware, those who are not aware, we do have 4 full-time navigators embedded in the community in conjunction with Hennepin County that certainly will offer into this proposition in any way that we can help.
That's helpful, and I think you guys have the same contract as the Neighborhood Hub.
Yes.
You have the same kind of contract as I think the Neighborhood Hub,
Okay.
or Jordan.
Jordan, you know.
Yeah, I think I have that down on the list. So again, these aren't, this isn't a request for new people, it would be a request to say what's available and how do we, like, we did 2 in a zone, because there has to be 2 people at least that have all of the information that can help control data coming and going. So that was kind of the thought in the discussion in the meeting last week.
So, and the assumption is that anybody that's employed right now has a full-time job, right? I mean, before the navigators, they have full-time tasks, work plans, objectives that they're supposed to be working with.
In conjunction with this, serving the community as according to its needs and growth, so it's consistent.
Yeah, but this is an acknowledgement that you might need more capacity, right? Is the point, that this is an extraordinary event. So how many hours are there in a day for 6 people to handle? You know, let's apply the appropriate amount of firepower to the task. I think that's what this is all about. Okay, straight. Is everyone clear about where we are on this and how we got here? Are there any questions at this point? Because the next step, the people are meeting tomorrow. They will come in on Wednesday with a report, and we're going to move forward on Wednesday. So if there's anything you want them to come in and talk about, the clarity or to discuss in their meeting today, tomorrow, please say it now, so that on Wednesday we can move the agenda. Yes, sir.
I was just wondering, what is your outreach?
Speak up.
What is your outreach plan as far as media, print, online, television, YouTube?
In the first meeting, we really just talked about what the initial needs were. So the first meeting was last Tuesday. What I'm proposing to the group is that we do a flood of media around radio and paper media, newspaper on, we need to know where you are, because we can't get the numbers on housing. We don't know who is in condemned housing or in cars, so that we would come out and really flood the airwaves and the newspaper immediately to say, we want to know that you're safe, like we care, this collective cares. Beyond that, that's the discussion that's at the table. So again, the invitation is for you to sit there if you want to bring that to the table, because there's a communications team, which is not my team, but I recognize that there's an aspect that's a crossover. So if you want to sit on both, you have a seat at the table.
Would you be willing to accept that I get with maybe a meeting or someone and meet without a fair spread of all, not just the minority media, but the mainstream media and levels of cost, and for a 6-week or 90-day period?
I'm not sure that's my decision you know, but I think that for that immediate piece, that's what I'm thinking. I don't know where that sits, that would be
We're
Louis.
trying to get dollars here for adding routes, right? So are they expected to go one way and then this goes another
Are
way?
you asking me, do I
Hang
have
on
a
a minute,
plan?
wait,
Or
wait,
no,
let me deal with this, sorry.
I just want to ask for
Yeah.
clarification around, are
I
you
got it.
asking me like put it in the RFP, or do
Yeah.
I have a plan?
No, is it being included in the RFP as a piece of?
Oh, that's not what I heard you say. But yeah, there is a
Well, that's
communication
right,
piece.
sorry.
There
Yeah,
is
there's
a,
a piece.
it will need to be informed by what they give us as a message, all right? So the real deal is, what's the message, what's the objective, and then build a machine to make it happen. So who in here is affiliated with communications team? But don't everybody jump at once, I mean, put your hands up high.
Who is?
I'm gonna keep the city hands out.
I was at some point communications, I'm not sure if I still am.
But that's not the question. I mean, I'm asking, are you in or you out? This is the first question. Are you in or you out? Done, are you in?
I'm in.
Wait, then that's all I need. Who else? 3 people, all right? Here's what I need from you, okay? Get with Shonda, right? Do a liaison. Find out what it is that she needs to get accomplished. Come back next Monday. I'll give you a week. Next Monday.
Because I think you're getting, I'm just trying to help you out. When we come from Don's office, the communication, Sandra and them, we're dealing with communication. That's the part that's missing here. I don't think nobody here. Yeah.
Hang on a minute.
Yeah. They were in charge of communication.
I asked, who in this room, all right? I can't assign. I got 3 people, right? So your point is a good point, Al, about who they need to outreach to, okay, to get organized. Great, all right? But right now, I need these people to take the lead, and by Monday or next week, come back here and tell us what was articulated. Yes, Bill?
Well, I think you may be still a bit hasty in that area. What John is putting together now is to deal with what are the decided there are 2 forms of communication. Internal to the group, meaning human needs, and internal to the government. And then there's an external. He just put out a survey today. We're in the process of trying to formulate and to ask us to get the survey back and have all that by Monday to start defining what those needs are before we get the survey. Simply seems to me to be really pushing an envelope. What I would submit is, and we'll talk about this tomorrow, that the human needs group decide once we get the survey, when will be the right time to have that in place. But pushing it with all the other things that have to be done is really tough. It's not bad.
All right, let's make sure we're talking about the same thing. I thought that the outreach was restricted to getting the message out to people. Is that right? Is that, what was why was the communications piece in your initial proposal?
There's 2 pieces of how do we communicate to all of the providers that are helping. So we got new information from NCHA, which is where I was coming from, so I apologize for being late. There's stuff that's coming out from HUD. There's things that are always coming out in terms of resources and availability. So how do we communicate that to everybody around the table, what's available? So when you have touches with them in your organization, you are steering them in the right way, and you know what is a current resource and who qualifies. What are those restrictions? So that's one piece of it. The second piece of it is how do people in the community know what things are things that are widely available and need to be publicized, and where does that happen? Do we need to have a weekly column or something in the papers that say, here's what's going on this week with the team, and here's what's available to people, and maybe it's a 2-part. So I think that there is a communication piece. Right now in the transition with housing, we have the low 30s, 33, 32, 31 families living at the Drake, people serving people, and at St. Anne's. So some of those people are getting help and they're getting resources, but we need to make sure they're getting the right connections in a timely manner. And that, and then there's the people that are staying at North Commons still. I think there's 2 families that are left there, right? So I'm doing one piece of working with those families, but then there's this whole other list of people. We don't know where they're at. we don't really have a solid number. We don't know if they're living on in somewhere safe or if they're somewhere unsafe. Are they in a car? What is the situation? So to me, the most immediate communication need is to find a way for these people to self-identify, or the people that know them to identify them, so we know that they're safe and they're not falling through the cracks, which I've heard from the group repeatedly, that we need to make sure that no one is falling through the cracks. So the only way I can think to do that, because our collective organizations, we don't have a data system in place yet, is to put something out there that says, call this number if you have somebody, so we can start ticking off on the addresses. So that was immediate that I saw.
All right, and that needs to happen right now. I mean, that is a critical piece to getting to them. So Bill was saying that you can't have any discussion with these people by next week. Am I wrong? Okay.
I said, in terms of the bigger communication, in terms of like, that immediate contact with the family, I mean, that's another.
Okay.
First, we gotta get a number, and a database, but that's, yes.
So there's two pieces. One is how I communicate, and then the communications committee, to me, needs to communicate the whole group and what's happening and what's going on. So I think that there's a number of pieces. I've got a lot with the human needs piece. I'm not gonna do communication, but I can talk about what communication needs to happen. But I'm not gonna do that.
That's what I thought. Let me get the.
I actually just have a question, and that's because you've already found, you have people that you are unaccounted for. I'm curious if anybody went with the inspectors today for some people who may be being put out of their homes because of unsafe conditions today and tomorrow, so that you don't add more people to the list that are MIA.
So there's a lot of pieces moving at once. So the county staff, the city staff, there's a process that'll go through. I've asked them to do a logic model so that we know what happens when and how to identify the people. When they go out there, they are sending me information, so I know who those families are, and they're not